All right, brothers and sisters, we're on a couple minutes late, but we're here for you tonight. You know we wouldn't miss tonight, as we have been on for the last wow, it's been a few months now. We've been consistently coming on. So as I always say, and I truly mean this, I'm excited again for another night. We got some good topics.
Yup.
Talking about gentrification, we talking about this Tulsa massacre, the use of the N word, and we're talking about Megan Thee Stallion. So these are a lot of some of the current events that are going on right now that we want to discuss. And of course, it's never just us in discussion. We always want to invite you on to comment, and we definitely want to be able to keep track of that. So please feel free to join us in the discussion. We will, as you can see, we have lined up here to address comments and react to them, and we will definitely do that. So it's a small crowd tonight. It's me, my brother Mario on tonight. So we're gonna get cozy and comfortable.
Cozy and comfortable. I'm ready.
You know, dropping some knowledge for you all, and the brothers will be on next time around. So if you don't know who we are, the first time joining us tonight, we are 360 Collective. We're a social commentary group, political activist group. We've been around for 20 plus years as a group, as recently reunited and restarted the group a few years ago. Those who've been rocking with us since 2020, you know, that's when we kind of jumped things off. So, but we were together well before 2020. So if you all are new tonight, hopefully you enjoy what we have to say. Hopefully you get something out of it. We want to encourage you all to tell somebody about us. You know, follow our page on Facebook. Also, we have a YouTube page. It's very critical that in order to draw attraction to that page, that you go and like our videos and comment. Leave a comment. Just even if it was, I enjoyed it. Just go back and listen to it. If you want to, you know, something we said, you want to go back and listen to it, go to our YouTube page and check us out, 360 Collective. And we have some other things we'll talk about in terms of our consulting work. We'll come back to that at the end of the show. So let's hop right into it.
Let's go. Let's go, baby.
Yeah,
Let's make it
yeah.
work.
So something magical happened. Those who were with us last week, you saw that we went live for the first time with all of us in the same space. We haven't ever done that before, and went live. We've, you know, so that was something big for us. But we were in the city of Detroit, and and a lot of you who have been following what's been going on in Detroit knows that it's a comeback city. Um, if you've been there, you have definitely recently you've seen a lot of construction, a lot of apartments and residential areas with condos and buildings being shot up all over the place. But if you were downtown Detroit, I say maybe about even maybe even about 5 years, well, about 10 years ago, you would have saw a completely different Detroit. But it's definitely is a renaissance. But the question is gentrification good? You know, a lot of towns are being a lot of big cities are being gentrified all over the country, and there's been a lot of response to gentrification as being a negative thing. We want to break it down what our feelings were, what we saw over the weekend, and we want to get your thoughts too. So right off the bat, man, what you think? I mean, what was your feelings about what you saw happening in Detroit?
Well, first, man, like I say, it was just cool to be back in Detroit for that extended time. I'm there quite often. Every so often, we go back. My family, me and my wife go back to see her people who live in Detroit, so we get a chance to spend some time there. But so I guess is little parts of that. I guess maybe I seen the transition. Used to live in Detroit for a while. That was maybe 20 some years ago. So I seen the start of that transition. I seen when the decay was there, and the decay was just there to stay, no movement. It was just nobody buying anything, nobody investing in anything, and to leave and visit and come back every so often to see the change of Detroit within the last 10 years. It's quite it's good to see if you're going there to have a good time, if you're going there to do whatever. But at the same time, is that goes into a deeper conversation because who's able to have a good time in Detroit? So I mean, all those type of conversations need to be had in this discussion of the change of Detroit. But what I saw was a totally different Detroit than I seen when I used to be there 20 years ago. Totally different. Um, a lot of people that used to live outside the city limits, I have moved back inside the city limits. A lot more businesses been open. I mean, it's just totally different. I mean, it's totally different. What about yourself, man? You live in Detroit, man. So how you feel? How you feel about it?
Yeah, I sort of saw the change. Yeah, I've been not originally from it, but I've been living here for the last 20 years. So I have saw it come from nothing. I mean, I'm talking like you coming down, in the downtown, any street downtown. It was nothing. It was no businesses. It was all shuttered. And unfortunately, we know the history behind it. Of course, the riots is what really shuttered everything. It never really came back. There was no interest. And so I would say right around 2008, really the start of the recession. You know, see, this is how the rich get rich. In the recession, it's a time to get rich. So what Dan Gilbert did was he saw all these buildings basically go off for sale
Mm-hmm.
that have been sitting around, and they were at a cheap price. Start buying them up. Left and right, start buying them up. Before you know it, he had bought pretty much, and he's still buying up pretty much all of downtown Detroit. And so that was the renaissance of the city when he began buying buildings. All of a sudden, now Detroit was somewhere to be. It was somewhere to come down and to party and to go to restaurants. It was some place where you can actually walk around and go to shops. But before I would say 2008, 2009, especially with 2010, is when things really started taking off. But no, I wasn't nothing around, man. Detroit was always known as a place, and still, for some people's opinions, is not a place to ever visit. But people began to come from all over the world
Mm-hmm.
and to see what is happening, what's going on in Detroit. It was a buzz that got created that people actually wanted to see what was happening. Now, again, is that good or bad? Is that something to be proud of? I don't know, because I feel a certain way as being in the city where nothing was there, right? Nobody cared about it. Nobody even all the worst thoughts and comments you can possibly imagine. Most people had about Detroit. When I go out of town, people will be like, "Man, how do you survive there? Like, why do you live there?" Now it's cool to come to Detroit. Now it's cool to be a part of the city. Everybody wants to be from Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
even though most of them are from Metro Detroit. Everybody wants to be from Detroit. So I feel some kind of way because I feel like if you really love the city, you would have been there no matter what. And that wasn't the case. Everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon now. And honestly, we know with gentrification, we're talking about that in particular, specifically. What gentrification does is it builds a city up, but becomes so unaffordable that the people who were originally there are not able to now afford to live there. So they have to now live in other places. We've seen it happen in Chicago. We've seen it happen in New York. It's happening right now in Cleveland. It's it's happening in most major cities around the country. They've now deemed these places opportunity zones, which they welcome in investors to get things at a bargain or budget rate to go up and buy up land, buy up buildings, and snatch them right from the neighborhoods around where who do we have around those areas? Marginalized and disadvantaged populations who can't afford to buy the buildings, who can't afford uh, to do any of these things, which is unfortunate because those are the people who really should have had the first shot at buying buildings and opening up businesses because they've been there this entire time.
Yeah. It's kind of hard because the situation is like, I mean, like there's some parts of of Detroit that's real beautiful, and it wasn't. It was years ago. They wasn't beautiful, and so oh sorry, oh, excuse me. So you can see the possibilities of what Detroit can do. Um, but then the other part about this, you do know is like what happened to those people that used to be in those situations. Why didn't those people who used to live in those areas why didn't they purchase those properties? You want to start asking those questions. Why didn't they? Um, and then some of it is that maybe it was a missed opportunity. Maybe they weren't ready. Maybe it was bad. They didn't prepare. But then also there's always a history of redlining and people not getting loans as we discussed about a month ago. Even like Wells Fargo with mortgages, or whatever. Those things are still happening where marginalized people are not getting uh, approvals. So, the, it's just like what can be done in these situations, because now that these areas have become valuable, somehow those people who were there and are still there, or were there in the beginning, why couldn't they get first shot, first dibs at this land?
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. I mean, I think they could. Now they're trying to get programs in place where they're trying to give these. It's called Detroit Match, in which they do give. If someone's able to put up, let's say, $5,000, they'll match that money for startup costs. So
Mm-hmm.
there's some programs in place now, but that's after the ownership has already been taking place. That's after
Oh,
that. That the critical part has already been is already
oh,
set.
so so
Yeah,
so oh, so after it's been dirt cheap. So after, if they were selling the houses for $2,000, now they're selling these houses for $40,000, $50,000. The markups already hadn't happened.
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah. So now they like that. Now it looks like as if they're giving Detroiters a chance now. Okay, but you're giving a chance after the fact. You weren't giving nobody a chance to own the land and own the buildings at that particular time.
right,
They're getting now an opportunity to lease a place from the owner. Again, Dan Gilbert, who was basically played the game of Monopoly and put his stake all over the city. So now, okay, I'll give you a chance to open your business, but guess what? I'm your landlord. So I'm the one you're going to still be paying me money, even though you've been here the last 30 to 40, 50 years in some cases. Okay, you've been here this whole time. I'm just came in as an imposter, bought the land up, and then I'm so kind to give you now a chance to open a business up and give
right,
you an opportunity to lease a space, and then you can profit from the lease. Whatever you make, your overhead is still going to belong to me, but you can make money off what you sell afterwards. Pay me first,
mm,
and then you can pay yourself last, which is it's unfortunate, and I find it to be problematic because I think Detroit should have definitely got a shot with some type of grant funding or some type of funding to give them an opportunity to buy these buildings.
right.
Um, so uh,
I
let's see
think
here.
I
Yeah,
think that I'm trying to figure out where brother Tim said he's trying to get in. Do you see him?
I don't see him. I'm trying to give him the link now. I'm
Okay,
trying to scroll and look for the link in my email. And I'm gonna give it to him. So yeah, we got another brother trying to get on. We have some technical problems. This is but as soon as I find the link, I'm gonna shoot it to him, and we will have another perspective on. But you got any more comments on that? If not, if I can go to the comments and see,
yeah.
kind of get some.
Once you go ahead and go to the comments, and I can try to assist with trying to find this link for Tim.
Yeah, it's definitely somewhere in the email. I either gave it to a couple times, but Wanda, thank you for joining us. I see that you said change should include the people of the community. Right on. Anti-displacement laws should be in place. Equal opportunity for upgrade and renovation. When big business comes to the community, the jobs it brings should start within the community. Right. However, the use of tax increment funding to rich developers while raising residential property taxes to fund them. And that's exactly what happens. Um, okay, it says they want you to have matching funds, have a collaborative plan, and you could only rise to a low to moderate income level. must be in the blighted community and show that your plan will benefit the community. That is exactly what's going on. That's, because what they're looking at now is to because the land is now owned either by the city or by these private investors, you have to play by their rules. So there might be in the blighted community, like as one is talking about, a particular house that could be for $2,000. But in order to get that house for $2,000, you have to have a development plan in order to restore that home, which is going to cost you to the tune of maybe 200,000 to 300,000. You know, in some cases, I mean, houses are totally in disrepair. So you're basically gutting it, or maybe sometimes even tearing down the house and starting over. So it's a huge upfront cost you're going to have in order to compete with some of these large investors who have the money, the capital up front, in which you don't have. And so yeah, and like I agree wholeheartedly with you, Wanda. It should include a community. There definitely should be some places and things in place to allow the first dibs on things, whether it be land or buildings, to those who have been in that area. You know, now what they're doing now is they are giving opportunities for Detroiters through construction. So, so you're not able to own the land or own the building, but you can work on the building. You can help build. They have set asides for that. They give, I believe I've seen some opportunities where the construction company has to hire, let's say 11% of their workforce has to be from Detroit. So I've seen stuff like that, or else they'll be fine. In fact, when they were building Little Caesars Arena, which if you've been to Detroit, that's one of the new arenas now. The Red Wings play there. The Detroit Pistons play there. It's a great concert venue. When it was being built, they set up contractual law or contractual agreements that they will hire a certain percentage of Detroiters on that project. Now, of course, the challenge was in order to find workers who, A, could pass a drug test, and then B, has transportation to even get there. But the problem is that why is it that I'm only allowed as a Detroiter to work on a building, but I'm not allowed to own? I don't have any help or any type of contractual agreements of ownership of that building. There should be some type of community ownership, especially when you come into a city that, when Detroit's case is, I think the numbers are around 89 and 90% African American, if not 95%. It is one of the few cities in this country with that amount of African Americans occupying one major city, and so it's very rare. So I find it to be very offensive for you to be able to allow to work on a building, but you're not allowed to have any type of things in place to own the building.
To own it, right? Yeah, I think it's all crazy. I think that like it's by design. So we understand it's by design. Um, and I think that what plan should be in place, and how can we do something now, because some of these things are going to take a little bit longer to take place, but there's still opportunity. If we look at Detroit is still it's a humongous area. A lot of land still can be bought up and still can be utilized. And so how can we get in and try to find, if we want to get in, if we want to buy land, how can we get in and make sure that we buy some more land, and then what will be the plan for the land? I think that's where we have to start moving in those directions. Like I would say this, like if we know somebody who have an aunt, uncle, whoever, and they're living next to somebody, next to land that's not occupied, not owned, and the city is not doing anything with it, buy it. Sometimes I think sometimes you can buy that for like $100 or whatever. Just buy that adjacent lot, because I think you get first dibs at it too for the cheaper price. Then we can advocate for our family members, our friends, to do that, so that gives some easy access to owning at least your someone right next to you. Um, I think like the Dan Gilberts and these other people that's coming along. Only thing to beat that is is having more capital. I mean, because they're coming in buying houses with cash, and that's really where the bigger problem is. I mean, you hear so many people trying to buy houses, regular houses, right? Regular houses, and the issue now is that people can't buy them because everybody's coming in paying cash for houses.
That's a big deal as well for sure.
Yeah, so then
Foreign
it's like
investments.
you have a
Hmm.
loan all you want to, but if you check it,
Yo,
you want,
that's a big deal as well for sure.
yeah.
Hold on, we got Tim coming on. I think he's here. Tim, you here? There he is. There we go. Now you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Got
Okay.
you. Got you.
Thank you.
Now you're on mute. Oh, I think
Ready?
you got
Can you hear me? Can you?
Yeah, I hear you. I think you got the stream playing the same. I hear some feedback. Oh, mute the stream. Okay. While he's doing that, I'm gonna read one more comment here. In Grand Rapids, investors are buying up places and doing minimal to no renovations and raising rents hundreds of dollars a month because that's what the market will bear. People are losing housing left and right because they can't come up extra hundreds on a month notice. That's happening all over the country, actually. People are waking up and realizing their landlords are raising the rent so they can't afford it. I mean, San Diego, San Francisco, Chicago, I mean, LA, California mainly, but New York and California for sure. But then I'm also hearing places like Miami, some of your more popular cities. This is going on.
Atlanta.
Part of it was because during the pandemic they had this whole where you didn't have to pay your landlord, so people have went literally an entire year without paying. So what happened is the landlord had to then evict when they were able to do so. They were able to evict tenants, or they were forced to raise the rent because they had to make up for a year of lost income. So it's unfortunate that's going on, but that you have the pandemic to blame for that. And then you do have gentrification as a reason for that as well, because once you have new construction come in, it raises the property values, in which now these investors, these landlords, they want to take advantage of it. They're like, well, now my property's more valuable. My stake went up, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and tax you. So that's interesting. That's going on in GR, and I know for a fact we got brothers on here from there, so they definitely can. Well, they ain't lived there in a while, but I'm pretty sure stuff was going on back in the day too.
Oh, downtown Grand Rapids has been transformed in a way that most of us who haven't been there in a while would not recognize, from what I understand. It has really been transformed. There's a lot of sidewalk cafes and microbreweries. As a matter of fact, I think Grand Rapids is one of the leading microbrewery cities in the country right now, which is amazing to me. I never would have thought that downtown Grand Rapids would be anything like that. There was something I wanted to run by you, Grant. I found an article about 7 neighborhoods in Detroit that saw their property values actually rise. And I was wondering if you recognized any of these neighborhoods. Boston Edison.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of neighborhood is that?
That is Boston Edison. Man, that goes back to like that started to get black folks started moving in there right in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Before that was a very prominent area where a lot of, I mean, we're talking like
Mansion, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. To put it, yeah. Frankly, it's a very well-to-do area. We're talking like, yeah, your mansions. That was where a lot of the auto big wigs back in the day, like I'm talking 20s and 30s and 40s, is where they live. And then when they started to of course, after the riots, everything started changing. You have black folks there that moved in, but they live in some of the nicer houses in the city are in the Boston Edison.
Okay. What about Barton, McFarland, and Pride area?
Barton, Fry area. That might be east. I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. I don't. That doesn't ring a bell as one of the more prominent areas.
Morningside,
Yeah, Morningside. Yep, that's another one. Up and coming.
up and coming.
Yeah, they're trying to. Yep, they're trying to. That is being a lot of investors are starting to invest in Morningside
Okay.
because
North
you have a lot of
End.
those homes that's been sitting around, and they're nice houses. Once you restore them, they're very attractive. They're very desirable, and they're starting to see a different demographic moving in those places.
Here's North End and Milwaukee Junction. They actually say that the rising property values are accompanied by growing concerns of gentrification.
Mm. Yep, they want the North End now.
Yeah.
That's the next spot they're looking at right now. And the North End notoriously has been a place you never wanted to go to. So they're trying to change that, trying to change the narrative there.
Okay.
Now, let's go back and forth. Now, is that a bad thing? I know how we feel, but just to push back, if nobody wants to go there, it's a bad place to be. Why is it a bad thing if somebody wants to come in and invest money and to make it a better thing?
I don't think it is. I think it's a good thing, but I think it's being done probably in a bad way. You have a tax lien force outs and leases not being renewed and eminent domain and things like that where stuff is being snatched out from under little people so big people could come in and do big things. I don't think it's a bad thing though, because now as long as you are able to get to these areas, you can go sit down in a nice place, or you could conceivably get yourself a nice condo if you are not redlined out of the area, as
But,
far as.
but, but some part about that, we understand that's where we are. We're going to be.
Yep. I think if you go out to these areas that are gentrifying, they used to be a certain type of community, you can, depending on what you're looking for, you might as well expect to get mistreated. And that's a sad thing to say because I didn't have that bad of an experience when I was in Detroit over this past weekend. But there were some instances where I was wondering, damn, what did I do to get that kind of a look from that kind of a person? I mean, up and down looking. And y'all know the look. Both of y'all know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I know it all too well.
Yeah. So,
We see, we know the look, but then at the same time, we're like in this place though where you think that it's an illusion, right? That we're like, okay, not here. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know what it is though, because with this, everything is different. You think, no, I'm safe here, but then there's always something that brings you back. Like it's not safe for me though, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like
exactly. So I don't think it is a bad thing, but it depends on who you ask. Because if you're a lifelong resident who's, people have been forced out, by tax injunctions and things like that, and just people just refusing to renew your lease or eminent domain and these types of things that they're doing. I was reading an article about the way they're getting people out of these neighborhoods, and it's reminiscent of what they've done in the past. But I mean, it's another topic that we're going to go to, but this is a lot of smash and grab that's actually going on.
smash and grab.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Look at that. That's brand new. And who knows what was sitting there before. It wasn't that attractive, but that's a nice building. It's a nice place to be. It's a nice place to look at if you can stand your treatment from certain individuals in the community. There's going to be certain hostilities out there. That's the way that whole thing works.
And somebody may look at this and be like, "Wow, they finally cleaning up my neighborhood. They finally decided to do
Right.
something nice." Look at that. I can finally stare across the street at something than an abandoned lot or abandoned house.
Right.
Not realizing that the house that they reside in could be snatched from any given time from underneath them. Because they want to build on their property next.
Yeah, that's next. It's next. And they're going to give you, what are they, under eminent domain? What do they have to give you? Fair market value under eminent domain?
Right.
And they will take it from you. I mean, even if it's paid for generations and it looks like that, they'll take it from you, and they do. I was reading that same article about how they're just it's really an effort to take people's property. Uh, and they're changing the nature of the neighborhoods. They really are, but I'm not mad at them. I took a lot of footage of abandoned houses and burned out buildings and abandoned warehouses and stuff like that. And who wants to look at that?
All
Right.
right, let's see.
Right.
Wanda has something to say here. Again, she's been commenting heavy on this topic. She says it depends on how rich the area is, how close it is to downtown, the riverfront, the airport, businesses and communities underground water systems. So she's yeah, I mean, those are usually wealthier areas. Those are desirable areas, I should say, desirable because everyone wants to, of course, have some land close to downtown. That's exactly what we're talking about. I mean, that's mainly what the pictures you just saw. That's the areas, the North End, Boston, Edison. Those are the closest, neighborhoods downtown. Where you can actually have somebody who works downtown who doesn't want to necessarily drive an hour or a half hour from way on the burbs, but once they only want to drive 15 minutes to work. So they're going to look for those areas that they would rather reside in than having to sit in traffic and commute in a half hour to an hour to work every day. So who do we have working downtown? I mean, unfortunately, I work downtown, and I can tell you on any given basis, I still feel like a foreigner down. I feel like an outsider, I should say, as I walk around downtown. I've been working downtown for the last 16 years. And I'm going to be honest with you. When this whole gentrification thing started popping off, everybody was all excited. I felt like I didn't belong there any longer. I felt like I was the outsider because there's not a lot of people who look like me walking around. And they started to really look at me as if, what are you doing here? Meanwhile, I've been here this whole time. But now I'm being looked up and down like I'm out of place. So no, it's not. New buildings and new places to eat is all good, but when it boils down to it, who they want there and who they don't want there is the problem.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got going on. Let's see what the next topic. Let me go ahead and any last thoughts on that before I move on?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Is the city recovering?
Hold on a second. I meant to play that for the first one.
Who is to credit or to blame for this?
All right, the next one.
A judge in Tulsa has allowed for 3 living victims of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre to seek redress through the courts. What is the importance of this development?
You know what? I'm really I have mixed emotions. I'll say that about all this because although this is definitely great, and if I found an article the story and wanted to talk about it, and it's definitely something that's overdue. It just infuriates me about the whole Tulsa Race Massacre in general, but the fact it took so long. We're talking only 3 survivors. This happened in 1921. For those who don't know. Tulsa, Oklahoma, we have what you all have probably known it to be as Black Wall Street. That is kind of the popular coin name for the area. But it was actually, Tulsa, Oklahoma, where this it was a race war. You had poor white folks basically coming in from the war at that particular time who didn't have much. They were coming back not, coming back to pretty much nothing. And they found that there was a thriving Black city that had their own airport, they had their own banks, they had their own movie theater, they had their own restaurants, the churches, they had everything they possibly could have needed. They did not need to leave Black Wall Street. And they became jealous. And so they decided to burn down the city that they had been built up. And there are 3 remaining survivors from that particular race war that are still living. Now, they've been fighting for this for quite a long time. This isn't something new that's popped up. But there are only 3 remaining survivors, unfortunately, that are still alive to possibly finally get some kind of reparations. We talked about reparations on this show many times, in terms of all Black folks receiving some type of financial stimulus, if you will, or some type of money that we definitely feel is owed to us due to the fact of slavery. But it is exciting that we're finally maybe able to get something for this 101-year-old survivor. And I don't know the ages of the others, but there's definitely, I think one is 101 and another's 100. So these, and I'm sorry, I think one is maybe even 107. So you got folks who are literally on their last leg. I don't want to be disrespectful. I want to be real about this. They don't have much. I mean, we don't know how much time they had to live. Let's be honest about this. So they should have been able to enjoy these what they hopefully will be able to get decades ago. But they are on the brink of possibly getting. If this lawsuit is definitely, it says that the lawsuit survives, the motion to deny will move forward, and so they would move forward with the judgment. They will be paid the reparations for this race war. For the massacre that happened in 1921 in Tulsa.
There you go. Call it what it was. It was a massacre. They killed hundreds of people. They went into a hospital, killed people. They went into all types of businesses, apartment, but wherever they could find, whoever they could find, and just murdered people. It was a massacre. I'm also torn about this because I'm happy that it's taking place. I think it's long overdue, and I think survivors are one thing. I think even if you are a descendant of these people,
Right,
you should be able to walk right in on this lawsuit. If you have a clear line of descent from a business that was taken, or a home that was taken, or a building that was burned down, you should be able to get paid. But the justification, I noticed you were talking about the ages of the people involved, and one of the justifications for the lawyer for the Chamber of Commerce to dismiss the suit or want the suit dismissed, he says, and I quote, "What happened in 1921 was a really bad deal. And those people did not get a fair shake," adding, "but that was 100 years ago." Okay. So for him, it was 100 years ago. It doesn't mean anything. And I was saying earlier that, well, something that happened to his people 100 years ago, he's probably so passionate about it that he'll put one in your chest. But something that happened to our people 100 years ago, even though there are survivors still here, oh, that was 100 years ago. It was 100 years ago.
mm-hmm.
And I think that's a two-step that a lot of white supremacists do. It's like, your history really doesn't matter because it doesn't jive with my history. It doesn't jive with my story, the one I've been telling for decades and centuries. So we just gonna leave that out or wash it over somehow, or just straight up deny it or discredit it. These kinds of things.
These kind of things, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It was a massacre, and then it took 100 years for somebody to finally be like, "Oh man, they might deserve a little bit of money, just a couple dollars. They can take and do who knows what with." But as you said, Tim, I think that is a good strategy that the relatives should be involved. Actually, there are 11 plaintiffs in this case, including survivors and relatives of survivors. So there are a few, but there's definitely more than 11 people in that town, right? So we're talking about we should trace every person that was in that town that was involved in this massacre, and their families should indeed get payment. We're talking about they destroyed. I mean, they were millionaires at the time. You had one lady who literally had her own plane, who used to fly to France, to Paris, and get clothes made. This is how wealthy these people were. We're talking about the 1920s.
Yeah.
They lived in immaculate houses. So we have never seen that again. 100 years later, we have certain areas in the country that have well-to-do Black folks. Let's not get that distorted. We don't have our own banks like that in one area. Banks, movie theaters, hospitals, airports. Like, come on, we don't own the airports. So we've never seen that again. So what they didn't understand the damage that was done to an area that thrived, that we still haven't seen even 100 years later. And we talk economics. That's part of our platform, and that's something we have to really think about: is how do we get that back? How do we, and one way to do it.
Oh, you go ahead. I'm sorry, bro. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. And one way to do it is this is a start, but we can't do it with 11 people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We gotta get those other relatives involved. That would be a start. If you give reparations to those who were involved, every person in that town, and it's documented. It's easy to be able to find who was living in those areas in 1920. We ain't talking about.
It should be able to be found through different databases, different. It should be there. I mean, I'm sure they went in and destroyed everything they could. Like, but there should be some evidence, some remnants of that stuff somewhere. It just would take a lot of research, but I think we have the wherewithal to make something like that happen, because there are hundreds of instances of this kind of. I mean, we discussed this before. There are at least 100 Black towns at the bottom of man-made lakes in this country, all over the country. There's one at the bottom of Lake Lanier. I don't know if y'all know about it.
Good old Lake Lanier.
Yeah, there's towns that have been plundered and sunk at the bottom of lakes, and there's never been any kind of reparation, any kind of restitution, any kind of reconciliation or redress.
Keep in mind, and a lot of that is because of the fear of what we've done, what we're doing on this land, right? Like especially for this situation, people were upset that we were thriving or we made it out of slavery. Poor whites. Keep in mind, and the more research we do on it, you're probably going to realize that they were hyped up and supported by rich whites, to do something like this, just so that they could come in also and probably do a land grab, as we're talking about earlier. You know what I'm saying? So it's always something, but it's like I said, it's a good thing that it's to this point. But why so long? Two, they still can drag this thing on.
Oh,
you're talking about 11 people. They can drag this thing on till it's 4.
Yeah. That's why it needs to become a class action lawsuit.
Especially depending on whoever's paying. You got whoever's paying has a right to, counter and do whatever. So you could take this for a real long time.
Yeah, another 100 years.
Another 100 years, right?
Another 100. At least a lawyer will tell you so. And I think that's the tragedy in this whole thing, is that they have done, through these massacres and these they called it a riot. During these massacres where they were doing these types of things, they did quantifiable harm to Black families and Black wealth in this country.
Good point there, because you think about because that's 100 years ago, and you just think how much money, or you think about your money doubling, or you know what I'm saying, or how the money's going to be invested, and what you would do with that money over 100 years.
Yeah, 100 years. And this guy who's the lawyer for the Chamber of Commerce, who says it was a really bad deal, but it was 100 years ago. I'm thinking 100 years ago, his family was probably in a different place, but no one took anything from them. They were able to build for 100 years so he could go to law school.
Right.
Right.
So he could be in the Chamber of Commerce because his family is established, and that's the good old boy network. you know. But he doesn't. They don't recognize that contribution.
Right.
They don't recognize that. They don't recognize what has been taken, what has been stolen, basically. So it's like, oh, that was 100 years ago. It's no big deal, But I bet he knows exactly who the male patriarch of his family was 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What he was doing.
I agree.
We got our friend Michael back with us this week. He says that reparations are being paid to Jews today. What are they talking about? All German companies doing business in the U.S. have paid to the reparation fund. Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen have all paid to the fund.
To the Jews, though. To Jewish reparations.
Oh, for certain.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They've all felt bad now that they've all decided to, we all know the Jews have definitely gotten their fair. They've gotten well over reparations in this country. For some reason or another, they're the most recognized group of people that have suffered. Although, and I'm not downplaying. I'm not going to even go I'm not going to go there because you know how that when you start talking about it, what happens. But I'm just saying. We understand that happened, and we're not downplaying what happened to the Jews, but we're talking about something that happened. This the first bombs that were ever dropped in this in this country were at during this massacre. They were actually flying planes over Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921 and dropping bombs on this town. This is how bad they wanted to burn it down. You killed 300 people. Yes, you only have 3 remaining survivors who were kids at the time, who were babies at the time, matter of fact, who are now possibly able to reap the benefit. I ain't gonna say reap the benefits, to be repaid what's rightfully theirs. And you're not even gonna be able to really repay 100 years of what's happened during that time. How many years of the 100 years did they have to struggle without anything? Again, their parents could have been killed during this massacre. I'm not really sure that what's happened in particular in their lives, but we don't know. The parents could have been killed. Their siblings could have been killed. There were a number of people 300 people is a lot, but I'm sorry, you haven't had any group of people in this country that has had bombs dropped on them. We gotta,
and these were institutions that were destroyed too. Imagine 100-year-old black college that that started as a small school in that community, or I drive around Atlanta, I see all these centuries old Catholic buildings. What if we had churches that were still around from that time period, or
right?
These different banks that were still around, 100-year-old black bank or 100-year-old group of black banks and financiers with all, not having had their fortunes ripped from under them and having been able to flourish. This was a community that was flourishing. These were black people that were doing well, and they ripped all of that from all of those people. And it happened all over the country, not just in Tulsa. And I'm thrilled that this is going forward. But like I said, I'm torn because, it's like you said, it's only 11 of them, and I'm sure that, the longer they wait, the more they can bury this thing and the more evidence to make sure that they destroy or bury or, it's really sad that this kind of stuff still takes place in this country, that there's this much resistance to giving people back what you stole from them with interest.
Yeah, and they're saying that in today's money, it would be worth tens of thousands of property damage. Tens of millions of dollars of property damage they would have if they look in today. So they gotta be considered at least that kind of money. There were 2 black hospitals, and we're talking about 1,200 residences in Greenwood Cultural Center at that time, all because of an accused man who was a shoe shine at the time, 19-year-old black shoe shiner, who was accused of rumors of rape. What was in fact all what happened was, if the elevator operator was pushed into a white woman, or fell into a white woman by accident, and she ran off claiming that he was trying to rape her. We've seen this play out. We've seen this play out time and time again, where you have the damsel in distress, which leads to many riots that's happened in this country. It's been started primarily because of that. The black man didn't get off the sidewalk when the white woman walked past. We of course, you know, the famous, unfortunately, murder. I mean, horrendous murder of Emmett Till was because he supposedly whistled at a white woman. And then so that's happened in this country, unfortunately, too many times. Let's move on to next. I know we got a couple things to still cover, and we got it's almost 9 when respectful folks' time. Let's go on to the next topic.
A report was just released detailing the dismissal of a white Marine general for using the N-word toward a group of troops. He defended his actions as a teachable moment. What lesson should we take from this incident?
Well, as a veteran and a former soldier that would have had to stand in formation for a long period of time to listen to a person like this give a speech, I'd just like to say kudos to the Marine Corps for relieving this man of his post. They have a code of conduct, and a uniform code of military justice that dictates that you cannot do and say these types of things. And the fact that he did not get away with it, kudos to them. I can really appreciate that as a veteran.
So this was the song that was being played. Y'all know this song, right? Y'all heard this? One of Big L's classics. I mean, this is the joint, right? So you imagine you and your homies vibing to this, playing. It sounds innocent, right? Look, come on. Vibing.
They were working out.
Man, I heard Big L in a minute, man. L is fire. You talking trash. You having a good time, and all of a sudden, SARS rolls up and goes on a rant, blames you for what's happening. This is happening in 2020 to give context. Blames you what's happening in the streets around the George Floyd murder. Talking about you all are the ones in the streets rioting. You all are doing all this, and then proceeds to not say the N-word, but actually say the word nigga or nigger. I don't know which one he used. It doesn't matter. Didn't have enough restraint as a person in his stature, and he didn't think he would offend somebody by saying that.
He didn't care.
He didn't care.
As with a person with his rank in the Marine Corps, generally, he is untouchable. I think he thought he was what's his name, Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. Like, you can't touch me. I'm this. I'm that. And at one point in time in this country, he would have been right. I think that's not the first time he's ever done that in his career. But Bill Burr got a joke about living too long. Maybe he just been around too long, and all the people who believed that way and who spoke that way and got away with it are now huddled in the corner trying to be quiet. I did read the article. I did read the article about what he said to them, and he's like, "You people, you people." My thing to that was, these are Marines in Germany. You know what I mean? These are they're not even in the United States. They're not people. They're his Marines. But it just goes to show you that he still sees them, even though he's their commander. He still sees them as nothing more than, black guys. There was probably a couple white guys in the group or else the complaint probably wouldn't have been legitimized.
So that's yeah, right. You think about like how did it go that far without? How often was he saying these type of things? And then how why now? You just know it wasn't his first time.
No, it wasn't his first time. No, he's been talking like this openly for a while now and getting away with it because the climate, the racial climate in the country wasn't as volatile. They really had to run on things, especially in the military. But it's not like that anymore. It's part of what I was saying to you guys earlier when we discussed it, that the military is not this lily white body and head anymore. It's really more of a black and brown body with a white head.
Black and brown body with a white head.
Yeah, all of your commanders, all of your officers, well, not all, but the vast majority of your officers, the vast majority of your command and control, your high-ranking individuals, those are all going to be white males. And a spattering of females in there for window dressing. A couple brown people, but the people who load the bombs on the planes and the guns on the helicopters and all that kind of stuff, they're black and brown people. They're black and brown. I know because I've been there. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
So he thought he was actually giving them a pep talk when he claimed that he was doing. Well, I wasn't calling them that. I was saying that they shouldn't use that word, or it's sad that it's still, you people are using the word nigger or nigga, whatever, however you said it. I don't know, but
the articles that I read said full N-word.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't know if he said nigga or nigga. It don't matter. He said the word, whether it was an A-G-G-A or J-G-E-R. But most people would have thought to themselves, okay, maybe it will be offensive, but they might find it offensive if I say the word. Maybe I should just say the N-word. That's what their whole case was. Why didn't he just say the N-word? Why did he have to say the full word to us and then think it wouldn't be offensive? Then he says you people. So he's taking no blame. He's claiming total innocence of this.
Yeah, zero.
He thinks he does nothing wrong. He was simply just trying to intervene. And well, my thing is, what does playing a rap song have anything to do with George Floyd? Make that make sense to me. Like, he's talking about what was happening. He was mad. What it was, he was upset that there were actually black people and brown people and white people actually all together sticking up and defending or actually were upset at the murder of George Floyd. How dare they destroy my country? These people should just shut up and go home. They had nothing to be writing about. What are they upset about? George Floyd deserved to be killed, probably in his head. So what are you all upset about? That's what he was really mad. It had nothing to do with the song at all. That was just a
question.
Yeah.
Could y'all take that correction for somebody, as in somebody white telling you, like, don't say the word?
Yeah, I could, because if you find, especially in a place of business or in the military, it's colloquially at the party, at the bar, if you feel comfortable doing that, you could do that. But in the military, it is a demeaning term. It is a dehumanizing term. It's something that's been used to really, really hurt people, and it has no place in the command structure. If you think like that about the people you command, that's a real problem.
I'm saying so as his commander told him not to use the word.
You can't do it while you use it. That's like, don't cuss, goddammit. You motherfucker, stop it. You can't do it while you're using it. You can't. You can go out there and say, don't use that word because it's a bad word, but you can't be like the word and then you people on top of it. There's two misnomers right there. Mm-hmm. There's two misnomers right there, and that doesn't. It's not a teachable moment. He's just out there hollering at folks.
I accept that.
Yeah, he's just out there hollering at folks. Lost his head because he's mad because his granddaughter likes that music.
So let's put it in context. So they were listening to this song I just played to you by Big L.
Yeah.
They were working out, by the way. So of course they needed some music to work out too. He comes up and says they need to change the song. Now I don't know. I haven't. We can go back and listen to the song and see if Big L uses the N word in the song, but it doesn't matter. He thinks he needs to change the song. So, what was said is a more detailed talk is subject of disagreement between the Marines and this is Commander Neary or Sergeant Neary. But it's the conversation that led to that came afterwards that led to why they filed the complaint. He told the group that nigga should never be used as a word of hate before adding the nigga is the reason you people are doing riots in the US. You people are the reason why the country is the way it is. Now, how do you
separate the two? How do you separate the two? And how do you, like I said, these are his soldiers in Germany. They're nowhere near the riots. These are his soldiers in Germany that are fighting for his country that he thinks is going to pop because of people that look like them. But he just automatically associated them with the rioters, put them right in the same boat as white supremacists do. You know? You get the same punishment. You could be, what did Malcolm X say? You could be a doctor or a lawyer or a preacher or some other type of Uncle Tom, and you get the same treatment as the man in the alley, you know? So it's like, yeah. I read that also. And he felt that and then he denied saying it twice, but it was corroborated by 4 other people. You know, they had the same details, and he's like, nope, didn't say it. I'm in denial.
Yeah, he's in denial. You know, he said that although he uttered the racial slur, that he did it to clarify and to denounce its use. Why the hell? He don't care if black folks use that word. No. He doesn't care at all because he uses it in a different way.
Yeah, he
all the time.
He wants to use it open. He uses it in his circles with his fellow officers, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He wants to be able to use it openly so he could feel like he's got the big thing. And it's another thing I was telling you about. All these brown people in the military, they know how racist these people are. They know how racist they are. And I doubt very seriously that when it came down to it, that they could sick a lot of them on a whole lot of us. I just don't think it'll happen. And that's where you have your revolution, because you don't have a revolution until the military switches sides. You know,
that's true.
That's true.
That's the definition.
So it's like, yo, they know how racist these people are, and they're not really ashamed about it. You know, they hide it to the extent that the Uniform Code of Military Justice and the Exemplary Code of Conduct says they have to hide it. But yo, they'll let you know in a heartbeat. You know, this is how I feel. So, you know, for all those brothers and sisters out there in the military serving under these people who you know feel this way, God bless. God bless. Right. You know.
Well, Michael's back in the comments again. He says that I think it's about time we come over being sensitive to the N-word. Anyone using the N-word just needs attention. One needs to put on the crocodile skin to ignore them. Ignoring them hurts more than responding. Mike, you back again. Wow, Mike. What y'all think about that?
I know, man. It's Mike.
I mean,
gosh, man, Mike.
We just get over it.
Logically, yeah, you're right. Logically, yes, I get it. He got a point. We're not dealing with logical people. Right? White supremacy is not logical. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's really just here to kill. I mean, it's really to destroy everything that we do. You know what I'm saying? And so, as we were saying earlier, even that while we were on the trip, is that the goal is to eliminate white supremacy, so we could bring a level of humaneness to these people, right? And so, yes, I mean, if they're thinking inhumane and doing inhumane things, we can't give this idea the humane treatment. So what you're talking about, Michael? Yes, it's humane, but the ideology is inhumane. They're not gonna, it's not gonna be that easy. Even and I totally agree. It's only a word, right? I'm with you on it. It's only a word, so I'm not gonna sit back and think so much about it. But one of the biggest lies that have been told is that sticks and stones might hurt your bones. Words will never hurt you. Oh, words hurt.
Uh,
Words hurt. And so, as long as we allow, as long as we allow certain words to be there, yeah, that's the problem.
I think I think anything that you ignore that's as sick as racism and white supremacy is only going to get worse, you know. And I don't think I should have to bear the burden alone. And there's some situational reality to this too. Like if I'm in Grand Rapids, it has happened to me, and somebody drive by in a rusty red truck and call me a nigga, I can ignore that. I can ignore that. But if I get called a nigga by the human resources director, there's definitely a problem there. If I get called a nigga by my supervisor or one of my subordinates, there's a problem, because we have rules and regulations against that. And I said all that to say this: I shouldn't have to bear the burden of your sickness. You get to call me whatever you want, and I just get to ignore you.
Yeah.
No, sir, that's a teachable moment there.
And the thing is, also it's the context and the meaning behind why you're saying it. Sometimes it's said with such hate.
Yeah, venom.
Yeah, exactly. That,
Yeah.
like you said, it becomes really a teachable moment then.
Yeah, it's a teachable moment. I have to say something. I can't just let you walk through life with that illusion that that's going to be okay for you to continue doing. Because one of these days, somebody going to knock your teeth out. You know what I mean? And and I hate to bring it down to that level, but when we learn to speak the language that they understand, because the N-word is intellectual violence. It's a violent thing. It's done to harm the people that hear it. So listen, nah, not everybody's gonna be able to ignore that. You're gonna run into somebody who's gonna be like, nah, I'd have been called that word one too many times by one too many people who look like you, and I'm going for broke. So yeah.
Yeah.
Put on your crocodile skin, though, brothers.
Put on your crocodile skin and just ignore it. Yeah. Festering pustule that's leaking hatred and venom. Just ignore that. That'd be all right.
Yeah, it'd be all right.
And the thing is, most times we do, but that word is not being used like that. Sometimes we see it in other ways now. No, you don't got to say it now. Sometimes it's by things that our people are doing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you don't got to say the word now, but now we know also what that looks like in action.
No, that brings me to that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're being blamed that it's okay to use the word. We shouldn't worry about it because it's being used in pop culture, hip hop culture in particular. They use the word, and so many people think, well, you hear it all the time, so why would you get mad when somebody else says it to you? But as you said, Tim, it's different. In this case, we're talking about that's their manager, if you will, their boss, if you will. And somebody, could you imagine that you being at work and all of a sudden they come up and call you, your boss calls you a nigga? What you gonna just be like, okay, okay, sure, I'll do what you told me to do.
And keep in mind, when that happens, you have limited.
I have a great story for you.
Go ahead.
I have a really good friend. He's working at this pharmaceutical plant where they turn blood plasma into the actual medication, right? So he's got a supervisor who came down from Boston. Excuse me. Came down from Boston, and he's talking to Ty Wayne, my friend. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used his name. He's talking to my friend, and he does the pistols, and he goes, "What's going on, my nigga?" Right? And he happens to be this white guy from Boston, And Ty Wayne,
Boston too. Okay, Boston.
Yeah, he's from Boston. He says, "What's going on, my nigga?" With the pistols, like playful, And Ty and my friend, taken aback, says, "Oh, hey, everybody, John's over here using the N-word." No, that's not it. Yeah. And long story short, John, who was actually married to an African-American woman with a couple of interracial kids, actually ended up getting fired for using the N-word, and it hadn't been his first time.
Mm.
So how do you go home and tell your black wife and kids that you got fired for calling somebody nigga?
Mm.
You're right.
Right? Right? So an interesting paradox there. Interesting. But yeah, it's real in them streets out there in them corporations and at those jobs. You don't play like that. If you want to do that on the basketball court or at the flag football game, that's a different story because we're talking a colloquialism. We're talking amongst buddies, friends, competitors. But we're in
and even that is tippy toeish. You know what I'm saying? You better know them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You better know. You gotta know if you're you better know who you're talking to in that setting. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just can't be just throwing that word out there like that if you don't know who you're talking to. But yeah, that's
a true story.
um
That happened. That's a true story. I got it. I was involved. I wasn't involved, but I know the story took place over a couple of weeks. But yeah, that's a true story, and it's that's one thing. I mean, and then he did have conversations with coworkers like, "Oh man, we use the word all the time. How you get mad at him?" He wasn't actually mad at the brother. He just didn't agree with him just coming out and saying that in the open, like it's okay.
Right.
Like, you know me like that. Like, you're not a Caucasian man from Boston, and that's not the way we generally use that word, even amongst ourselves in a professional situation. It's never, maybe break room talk, maybe, back in the, but not out on the professional level. So it was a different kind of situation. So no, my friend was a little upset because he thought everybody was trying to put the gun in his hand in particular because he's the one who announced it. He didn't want to be that guy, but that's the guy he ended up being. So, certain people can't say it. Right. And nobody really should.
Right.
I agree. We need to get over it, but if we're gonna continue to use it, there's got to be some rules.
Gotta be some rules.
Gotta be some rules.
I see Cast. I see Cast Iron's been rocking in the comments too. Yeah. We see you, Cast. I hadn't got to some of your. I see you been replying back to Mike a couple of times. I see you got some good information here about some books here too. We're definitely gonna take note of that. Yeah. I like you got some good information here as well. Catherine says, "I'm so sick of black and white. We are all of God's children." True indeed. Well, they all need to make a state with all whites and a state with all black. Huh? Okay.
They need to make a state with all white and a state with all black. Why?
I thought we all God's children. What happened?
Yeah, what happened with that? Yeah, why? That's not what any of us are really talking about. But that's a deep one right there. Well, we did try that. We called it segregation. Still quite segregated. But I think that once we do something like that, then you have a territorial issue where you don't think that people of the other culture or ethnicity should be able to come into your spot. And that's not cool. And I think that's a one-way relationship. I think that's why gentrification and all that stuff is possible, because we're always very welcoming. Always very welcoming. Yeah, come on in. You're my neighbor now. Here's a pie, But when you try to go to some of these other communities as a person that's not of that persuasion, then you get run out. You get run out the community. You get hostility. So yeah, I think that's a bad idea. I think we need to move more towards a better understanding of how to live together as opposed to apart.
And if we did that, will we have another massacre on our hands? Would they become jealous if we did have a state with all black and we then begin to have all our own businesses and we come, we start making millions of dollars?
I worry about the city of Atlanta. I worry.
I mean, you can, because look how Atlanta's surrounded. What is surrounded by?
Yeah. I worry about the city of Atlanta. I worry about the city of Atlanta because you have more black millionaires per capita in Atlanta than I think anywhere in the world.
Interesting.
Atlanta's that place that they can't stand, man.
And surrounded by.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole state. Yeah.
Well,
So I worry about the city of Atlanta sometimes getting bombed out.
we'll see in time. It could be another modern day Black Wall Street. You know, if it comes down to it, if it comes down to a point, we're heading toward the recession, right? What if things get so out of hand and it does become a situation where, hey, I gotta take in order to feed my family.
Yeah.
They would come out those backwoods and come right into Atlanta.
Or they will go in and throw the place in receivership like they did in Detroit that time and just take over and start doing whatever it is they want to do. And nobody would be able to do anything. Nobody would be able to do nothing. You know, I think there would be things that could be done, but nothing would happen. So, yeah, I worry about the city of Atlanta sometimes.
Because you wonder like who's in what pocket and be willing to sit back and say, I'm gonna let this happen because I'm gonna benefit from it and selfishly and not worry about everybody. Because that's what'll happen. You have one or two people saying, well, I'm cutting the deal for myself, so I want to make sure that I benefit from it. And they will sell the silly short.
Yeah.
Right on, Cast Iron. You say there are two states. It's called White America and Black America. True indeed.
Absolutely.
Let's get into this last section. I know time's getting away from, but let's get this last topic.
May 2nd was proclaimed Megan Thee Stallion Day in Houston, her hometown. The announcement has sparked celebration and controversy. Is this a sign of progress or another insulting joke?
Well, I know I was the one who initiated this part of the conversation. I just want to say I'm over it. You know what I mean?
What?
I'm just an old man now.
What you just say?
But let me preface that.
What?
Okay.
How you gonna be over it and not tell us you over it?
I got over it. I discussed stuff in preparation for the show. Megan Thee Stallion. So as we all know, a stallion is a male horse. An ungelded male horse. It's a male horse that has not been circumcised or one that's used for stud. There's nothing feminine about a stallion, okay? I did a little research on the term stallion being used for women, black women in particular, and they say it was started by rappers, black men, apparently. So we're the ones who are going to catch the heat from me for Megan Thee Stallion. And she got the nickname as a young person, and she just stuck with it. But for me, the stallion thing and everybody being so accepting of it is, now I'm not worried about the costumes because Cher did much worse than that in the late 70s and early 80s. Y'all remember how Cher used to dress?
Right.
Yeah.
Man, the stallion, huh? Okay.
Yeah, man. Megan Thee Stallion. So no, a stallion is a male horse, and we're catching the heat for naming black women in particular because of the long legs and being shapely and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's a misnomer. I think it's something that just makes us look stupid. I think it's, like to accept Megan Thee Stallion is like sagging pants. It's dumb, but we do it anyway. It's stupid, but we do it anyway. We know there's nothing stallion about that female. There's nothing stallion about any female. But we let the pants sag down with our boxers showing, and we just walk the streets like that. So I think it's the same thing as far as I'm concerned. The lyrics, I researched her lyrics. They're not even all that racy. They're not. They're not even all that bad.
She got some out there, though.
Huh?
Oh, she got some out there.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. I mean, 2 Live Crew.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. Oh, so comparatively, you're right. You're so right.
Yeah. I mean, I did not even know that racy. They're pretty commercial as far as I'm concerned. So I think, her benefactors having to defend her lyrics, I think is warranted because they are her benefactors and they're defending her lyrics. But I think when we talked about this, we jumped to a larger question, which was, whose money would you and would not take based on how they earned it? Because obviously some people are saying, I wouldn't take money from her because listen to her lyrics.
Right.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm gonna say Eliza, man. I'm not gonna look at Megan Thee Stallion and and look at her in some type of admirable way. No, not admirable way. I mean, that's not the right word. And look at her in some type of way. Anyway,
Yeah.
but she tries to represent herself as being like in two ways, in two worlds that don't mix. Okay, I want to be this. What they're saying basically is, how can we recognize you as being this person that's college educated, that is, you've given to different foundations, you like this humanitarian scholar on one end, and then you on the other end, you just sexy sex symbol that has lyrics that pretty much degrade black women.
Yeah.
In a sense, you know what I'm saying, that don't really uplift black women. Let's say that. That's the problem here. Can we really celebrate this woman? We want to try to, because we do think you have some accomplishments. I'm not taking that away from her, but it really is a she loses credit when she starts rapping, when she shows up on stage half dressed, when she talks about WAP and whatever else she raps about. I don't listen to her that much.
Yeah.
She loses credit.
Yeah, I harken back. In the days of old to Curtis Jackson when he was on Oprah, and he was like, "Well, that's 50 Cent. I'm Curtis."
Well, so it's a character.
Yeah, it's a character. It's a put on, man. It's a front. It's a facade all the way. You fake it till you make it, and then and then you just, because the article I read, one of them said that she got that name circa about 15 years old, and it used to be just a social media handle, and then gradually it blossomed into a stage name. But names, the things that we call ourselves have meaning. I just think that to call somebody a male horse, and for everybody to just accept it, and it's like sagging pants. It's something that we do. It makes us look dumb. You know what I mean? Now, should we care what they think? I don't know. Should we? I think we should care what we think and how we look. I think we should care. And as for her lyrics and degrading women, that's another tough one. I didn't do as much research into how badly she goes, but the song that I researched wasn't very flattering. Wasn't very flattering. Yeah.
I mean, do we need to put on some Megan, man?
No, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad, but she's not the greatest rapper.
She's beautiful. She is sexy. Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw a comment pop up that why does she get punished for being sexy and acknowledging that she thinks she is sexy? If you are offended by her being sexy, that's on you. Nobody said anything about anybody being sexy, though. I didn't say she wasn't sexy or she was sexy. I said a stallion is a male horse. That has nothing to do with sex to me. I don't find anything attractive about the thought of an 18-inch penis. Okay? A stallion is a male horse. It's not about sex here for me. It's just about the contradiction in terms. That's it. I never said Megan Thee Stallion was sexy. I never said that.
And so I wasn't asked that. Is that your main? That's your main gripe?
No. I mean, I just think it's funny that everybody has accepted that as just a thing, And I think it's like, I keep going back to it, like sagging pants. It's dumb. It's like a stupid thing. It's like, what else? Flavor Flav's big clock around his neck. It's stupid, but everybody just like, it's a fashion thing. It's a symbol. I don't know. It's like, it's a dumb thing. It's stupid.
Yeah. And it's not that she's being punished for being beautiful and sexy. She's being punished because she doesn't portray herself as a scholar in her lyrics. Okay. Even though it could be that character, but I'm sorry. Whoever you are as that character, I'm sorry, in show business sometimes overlaps to your real life. We talked about that, Tim, about so many characters that you portray, you get typecast, right? And after so long, people really believe that's actually who you are.
Yeah.
And in a sense, that's the case here. If this is indeed a character, then I'm sorry, it's not going to go well with her being a scholar and a humanitarian at the same time. It doesn't work. And I know she's saying, Danika's saying that men do that every day. I would say the case same thing for a man. If you want to portray this thug and this, I'm a gangster, whatever, I'm going to assume that's really you. I'm not going to come across you and say, oh, wow, you're just the most spiritual man I ever met in my life. No, you're going to be the gangster and whoever you say you are in your lyrics and you are portrayed on these videos. That's who I want to believe that is you. Now, if you're talking about that somebody who you used to be, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately, in show business.
And I don't think the American public, the vast majority of the American public, can separate the two. That even knows that there's another persona back there. That is a public persona. Megan Thee Stallion. I mean, she has a name and a middle name and a last name. That's a public persona. It's a creation, you know? And I think that's probably why she's doing these philanthropic things, is to humanize herself away from that image, which, you know, kudos to her. But yeah, you can't do both of those. You can't be a scholar. Okay, let's just talk about the scholars that we know.
Wait. She can, but at the same time, we don't see Henry Louis Gates doing similar things.
Yeah, Henry Louis Gates wouldn't stand up and call himself the mayor, you know, because he's not a female horse. I think when you said she loses credibility, you know, to call herself a scholar, but still call herself a male horse. And that just, to me, it's just a silly thing, but maybe I'm just an old man. She's 27 years old. You know, it's not my world to understand. I realize that to an extent. But, you know,
yeah.
So,
The nigga comes back and says, how does she get to portray her real self or any real self?
There is no real self in the entertainment industry. There is none.
I support her 100%. That's all I can say. I'm with you. I'm with her.
I ain't mad at her. I'm not mad at her. I'm not wishing her any kind of harm.
We know why. I'm gonna show you why he support her. It ain't because of that one. I mean, yeah. I mean, you know, I support. I can't be mad at this, but I'm sorry. I'm not looking at her, and then you know what? I shouldn't say that, because the sister went and got her degree.
Yep.
And she didn't have to.
Nope.
Now, should she be punished because she decided to take on this character before she got her degree? Because I think if it was an opposite, I think she would have got a degree first and then put on the character. Then people would have thought maybe she decided to be that is her real self. Like she went to college, put on the front, but her real self is Megan. This is why the WAP is really, really me. It ain't about going on campus to get a degree. I'm really about the WAP. You know what I'm saying?
But is it possible both can be?
That both can coexist? No.
No?
I don't think the scholar and the club girl could coexist.
No, come on now. Come on.
I think it can for a short time, but I don't think your credibility will be able to stand that lifestyle. You know, you can't be in the club throwing up, you know, and then be in the classroom the next day hungover, breath stinking with any kind of credibility. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, that's just, and for me, it's just a silly thing. I know it's silly, but yeah, you can't, man. You can't. I think it's just, you know, lack of credibility. I'm fine.
I remember many times I've tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah. Try to be credible, hungover. Yeah. I'm not mad at her. I think it's great that she's successful. I'm not saying that I don't support her. I do support her. I think it's great that she's successful. I think it's great she's 27 and worth $80 million. You know, kudos to her. She figured some shit out early in life.
True.
Yeah. And as for the racing costumes, man, Cher used to be 20%, 30% more naked than that, and didn't have body to first. You know, I remember that was the 70s.
Man.
you know.
True indeed. True indeed.
Yeah, so, you know,
I'll find a picture to share.
can't find it. Chicks to do that.
And keep in mind, you're right. At the same time, had a wider audience than she had. So
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. So that was just me. I just thought that was. I just think it's funny. And I think it's kind of dumb, and it makes people look dumb. You know, it's like, oh, Stallion is. No, let's forget it. Don't say nothing. Just don't say you know what I mean? Just don't say nothing, you know? Because that was my reaction when I first heard the term used in reference to a female. I was like, nah, just don't say nothing. Just don't.
When did I first?
Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing.
What? Heard the word stallion?
In reference to a female, yeah.
I mean, not. In all fairness, I will admit that was a huge. That's part of the culture. Just when we used to say that about with females. It was fine. We used to call them stallions. We never knew why we were saying it. We used to be like,
because we didn't know.
We didn't know.
We didn't know. I think because we didn't know. That's my thing with it now. I think because stallion, it sounds kind of feminine. It sounds kind of effeminate. Stallion. I think the people who first started doing it may not have known. That's my postulation. That's my interpretation of the situation. That's my.
But I will agree at some point though. I think what you're saying though is at what point do some of these things don't we educate ourselves on?
And just stop. Megan, you're great. It's great. But we don't need no more. It's just weird to me. Look at Cher. Thank you very much.
Oh man, and you're right. Cher, damn, she did dress like this.
Oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
And what was the persona of her? What was her? But she never called her. She never talked. She never sung about.
She had to. I mean, look at that. Look.
She never sung about that kind of. She was about some love songs, right? Do you believe in life after love and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, right. You're right.
Yeah, she was about them love songs, but she was always dressed like that. Mm-hmm. I think the lyrics and the shock value and the stuff that the hip hop people do in that community, it's all the drop jaws. In the same vein as Howard Stern used to like to drop jaws on the radio. Oh, I'm so shocked. Can't believe she said that. Yeah. It's empowering for some women, to be able to speak like that or to be able to hear another woman talk like that,
Okay. We got some comments brewing up over here. We're gonna get to a couple of these before we get out of here. I don't want to leave out what people are saying. I want to address. Let's see here what we got. Cast Iron says. Well, even before that. I lost my place. The nigga was going higher for. Then Wanda said it's facade being different sales and so does sex. But Cast Iron, you say you concentrate on the wrong female. You should be more concerned about Chantel Brown being reelected to the U.S. Congress to continue the warmongering industrial complex and U.S. imperialism of the Black Bootlicking Caucus in the 11th District of Ohio.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. I think we were just, joking around a little bit, but thank you. Appreciate you.
That's my man from we met him over in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's yeah. I mean, I think that on that topic, let me see what.
Well, I'd like to get define stallion and why a woman can't be one. Okay. Yeah, this is I had the definition of stallion up earlier. But a stallion is a male horse used for stud that has not been castrated. It's a male horse that has not been castrated. That is the definition of a stallion, and that's why a woman can't be one. I'm speaking to Danica Luker. It's a castrated stallion is called a gelding. She could be more gelding, Megan the gelding, but she can't be a stallion because a stallion has genitalia, male genitalia, excuse me. So that's why a woman can't be a stallion. She could be called a stallion. I'm fine with that. That's why I said at the beginning, I'm over it. You know, it's done.
Yeah. And so typically we try to have typically that one of those soft heart topics.
Yeah.
Just to make us more human. You know, people have these conversations just like we do, like we're having right now. And this is just one of them, you know.
Yeah, this is the lighthearted. This is the lighthearted conversation.
Right.
So we end on a good laugh. We're not really critical of Megan the Stallion or what she's done, or you know, or not paying attention to Chantel Brown. That's not the case. We're having a little fun at the end of the show.
Yeah, we may come back to that. We may talk about that later. That's a good point. We haven't gotten anything about her. I actually gotta read up on that particular situation going on in Ohio. So so man, we had a lot of folks that rock with us this whole time. We thank you all for the comments, Catherine, Cass Styron, Danica, Michael as always, Amber, Wanda. We appreciate the comments for sure. Hopefully we got to them and we're able to give some insight of what we thought about it. What's your thoughts? And we're able to react to them. So so we getting ready to wrap up. Any last thoughts?
No, I think that's pretty much that's all. I don't have anything.
I just want to thank you guys for doing this podcast and continuing to allow me to come on here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem, man.
Brother.
Yeah, we had a good time. We had a good time in Detroit, right?
Oh man, Detroit was fantastic.
Yeah,
Detroit was fantastic. I can't wait to get some of the footage out.
Yeah.
I
agree.
More to come on that. You all will see, why we were all in Detroit this past weekend. You'll see. One last thing. I'm gonna get this comment out of here. It's stuck. One last thing, anyway. So as we've been saying you every single week, we're trying to really get our media, publishing, consulting business off the ground. Not necessarily, we don't even look at it as being a business. It's just something we want to be able to expand our voice, and other than coming on here and talking to you all, we want to actually come in person and do some consulting work. Go to 360collective.online. That's our website. That's going to give you a little insight as to what we do, what we're able to bring to you. A lot of it's going to be either a discounted cost or even some maybe at no cost, depending on what it is you're in need of. So we would like you all to share this information. If you do have an interest, you'll find our email on the website, 360.online. We are planning to come back to you next week, and we're kind of in the middle of trying to decide which topic we're going to be talking about. I think we are thinking about going into critical race theory and open dialogue coming next week. We are definitely going. This is a hot topic. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's trying to, give their 2 cents about it. And we want to definitely take an in-depth look at critical race theory and give our thoughts on it. And we want you to join us for that discussion. And that, brothers, I think is it for tonight.
I
agree.
So, man, it was good kicking it with y'all. We'll be back in full effect, all four of us next week. And we appreciate you all for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you all next week.
See y'all next week.